Rome's army was in front of a town in Gaul. A massive army is coming with the goal of adding the area to the Roman Empire, but all of the past tries have failed since the village is home to the Gauls, which included the two buddies Asterix and Obelix. Along with being the Gauls are adept fighters who rely on help from the druid Asterix, who is charged of making the magic potion. The Roman army had seen that arrived. The druid creates medicines for all the people that lived there, except for Obelix, who fell into a stew full with the potion. Thanks to the potion, all the peasants get abilities, and with them go through the gates to fight the Roman people. Although outnumbered, the potion gives you strength and speed renders the Gauls unstoppable, defeating the army without much trouble. Obelix says he's tired of facing the Roman troops so many times and wonders why they insist on invading the village. As for Asterix, he likes each new combat, and with his strong strikes, he finishes off all the soldiers one by one. However, the village wasn't always so bustling, and in the past, the region of Gaul lived in serenity and harmony. At that time, Asterix and Obelix were still children, and one day while playing in the forest, they exchanged presents to commemorate their friendship. Obelix showed him the wooden dolls he had created of the two of them, and Asterix gave him a 4-leaf clover. This would always bring him luck. Everything was going nicely in the village, but Asterix feared that this component would be transient as the Roman Empire had picked a new leader called Julius Caesar. The wizard understands that the new emperor will shortly try to seize over Gaul, and so he has been working hard to manufacture the miraculous potion. While he can't get the formula right, Asterix teaches the children of the village, and in today's lesson, the learners have to display their work to the whole class. When it's Asterix and Obelix's turn, the two have selected the effects of poisonous mushrooms as their topic. However, Obelix is so nervous about having to speak in public that he ends up fainting in front of the whole class. Luckily, Asterix manages to improvise, noting that his friend is merely demonstrating the effects of eating a toxic mushroom. Thanks to this, their work is accepted and they go out to celebrate as they run into the village troublemaker, Asterix. He shortly starts bugging the pair, but Asterix strives to protect his friend and proposes a deal. If he succeeds to break into the druid's house and grab his valuable golden scythe, Asterix will have to leave them alone forever. The boy accepts the offer, and when Get a Repair goes out to harvest fruit, Asterix and Obelix break into his house in pursuit of the scythe. During the search, Obelix sees something cooking in the cauldron, and when he tastes it, he doesn't like the taste and adds some extra ingredients. At this point, Camix goes to talk to the druid, pretending to have a tummy ache and asking him to bring him some medicine. The old man then returns home, prompting Asterix to hide in the closet while Obelix climbs up a chain high above the cauldron. Fortunately, the wizard doesn't notice the lads and leaves, but Obelix ends up sliding off the chain and falls into the cauldron. The fall generates a powerful explosion, and Asterix hurries to see what has happened. He finds Obelix unconscious and runs to his bed to take care of him. Hours later, the boy finally wakes up with the hunger of a lion, and his family along with the rest of the village prepared food for him to recover his vigor. After eating a number of different dishes, Obelix felt better and went out to play with Asterix. However, when they were having a snowball fight, Obelix tossed one of them so hard that it went through the roofs of multiple dwellings. Asterix is startled by this, and the two decide to test Obelix's strength with anything heavier. They soon realize that the boy is now able to carry big stones without trouble, but they decide to keep it a secret. However, Asterix reappears, and as the two friends haven't managed to acquire the golden scythe, he declares himself the winner of the bet and aims to assault them both. To his unfortunately, Obelix, now stronger than ever, strikes him across the face, launching him flying far away. Just then, Asterix was passing by and realized that Obelix had somehow been influenced by the potion. So to reproduce the same effect, the druid questioned what the boy had put in the cauldron, and in addition to the ingredients, Obelix remembered the 4-leaf clover that Asterix had given him. However, the plant was melted when he slipped into the cauldron, and they need to locate another one shortly. After much searching, they managed to find a 4-leaf clover, and as soon as they put it in the cauldron, Asterix tries the potion and acquires superhuman power. However, the potion has a limited duration, and only Obelix, who fell into the cauldron, has a permanent effect. Nevertheless, during the next few years, the druid continued to master the formula, and in modern times, the magic potion has enabled the Gauls to maintain their independence and vanquish the Roman army. The news of yet another defeat soon reaches the Emperor Julius Caesar, who requests explanations from his general Quick and Furious. He explains because the magic potion makes it impossible to overcome the Gauls, and as a result, their village can never be taken. However, the general's niece, Metadata, claims to have investigated all about Gaul and discovered a way to beat them with the major fight. According to Gaulish law, if two heads of tribes face each other, the winner is entitled to rule the village of the loser. Then the Romans can challenge the Gauls in a duel, and if they win, all of Gaul will finally belong to Rome. Julius Caesar supports the idea and sends Metadata accompanied her uncle to the place to locate Pus, the captain of the armies that have been sent to attack the village. A few days afterward, they encounter the captain who is resting after another defeat. He is pleased to see his general friend and expecting him to take care of everything. But Fast and Furious informs him that he requires his help in a new military operation termed the Big Fight. After revealing the complete strategy to Pus, the captain instructs his forces to build up a base in the field to house the general's reinforcements. Next, they need to pick a great warrior, but POTUS believes there is no prospect of winning because of the miraculous potion. Metadata considers arresting the village druid so that there would be no one left to make the potion. Fast and Furious agrees and sends Pus to do it, but instead of just seizing him, the commander orders his colleague to destroy him once and for all. Meanwhile, in the village, Get a Fix sets off alone into the wilderness in lookup of the ingredients for the potion. Minutes pass and he still hasn't returned, which only makes Asterix worry. So, he summons Obelix and his tiny dog Dogmatix to go acquire a fix. When they reach the forest, the three find the druid being seized by Roman soldiers dressed as trees. Asterix tries to help him, but just as he is preparing to swallow the miracle potion, he inadvertently knocks over the bottle and spills it all on the ground. Obelix then decides to interfere and tosses a large rock towards the group. What the man didn't expect was that the rock would fall on Get a Fix, knocking him unconscious. While the two of them are taking the druid back to the village, the Roman soldiers arrive at the camp to tell them what has transpired. They believe that the rock has crushed the druid, which makes Metadata upset as the objective was just to kidnap him so that he wouldn't prepare the potion. However, her uncle Fast and Furious doesn't care and adds that now they need to choose the warrior for the big fight. Pus then implies a Gaulish friend, but one who is committed to Rome and will do anything must heed the emperor's call, none other than the troublemaker, Ceramix. They discover him in a village, but he has departed it in the best Roman style and has even changed his name to Tomius. When he receives a visit from General Fast and Furious, Tomius finds out about the massive fight, but refuses to fight because he knows all about the miracle potion. However, the general maintains that the village druid has been defeated and that his success in the duel is guaranteed. Just thereafter, Asterix and Obelix take Get a Fix back home where they encounter the village leader, Vital Statistics, and his wife, Impedimenta. The pair try to help the druid, but as soon as he wakes up, the old man acts as if he doesn't know them. It seems that the blow with the rock has caused him lose his memories, and worst of all, he no longer remembers how to produce the magic potion. Throughout the day, the people of the village do their utmost to make Get a Repair regain his memory, but to no avail. Shortly thereafter, Tomius emerges with the Roman soldiers and difficulties. Vital Statistics to the major confrontation with the Gaulish leader has to surrender the village if he is vanquished. During the conversation, Get a Fix appears, which makes Tomius feel that the general has lied to him and that the magic potion still exists. He then runs away, but the truth is that the old man has remained without his memory and functioning as if he's lost his mind. Now that he knows regarding the Romans' plot, Asterix tells everyone to bring the ingredients and let the druid memorize the potion on his own. However, with each new try, Get a Patch makes the cauldron erupt and can't recall anything. In the meantime, Tomius returns to camp and tells Pus that the druid is still alive. The captain doesn't believe it as he saw the old man getting crushed by the rock. He sneaks off to the village to investigate. When he gets there, he notices that Get a Fix has survived, but it's just in time for him to create another explosive potion. As a result, the cauldron is thrown far away and landed on Pus, who plunges into the river. Back alongside the group, Getax creates another potion, but this time it doesn't explode. Asterix suspects that this time the mixture has worked, but someone needs to try it to make sure it works. Then they see Pus stuck in the cauldron and floating in the water and take him to be the first to try it. With no choice, the captain drinks summon at first. It doesn't seem to have any effect, except instead of growing strength, POTUS turns green. Asterix asks him not to worry since they will soon discover a means to get him back to normal. But to his misfortune, the attempts only make his skin change color. Peace orders them to do anything and Asterix offers him one last dose. The captain is relieved to see that he's returned to his normal color, but the medication has another consequence and he starts to float. But POTUS uses this to his advantage and flees. After so many failed efforts, the people of the village realize that they will have to go through the chieftain's war in the traditional approach. As a result, Vital Statistics is compelled to train hard for combat, although he has been out of condition for years. Impediment then encourages talking to the village healer called Apotheca, since she may know about a remedy to recover Get a Fix's memories. Asterix and Obelix are chosen to go after the healer while the leader stays to continue his training. Together with Dogmatix, the two companions reach the dismal woodland where they find the home of Apotheca. She reveals out to be a Gothic healer. Asterix instantly requests for her help to regain Git's memories, else the village will be taken over by the Romans. Apotheca accepts and accompanies the two of them to the village where she sees the druid, still without his memories. The healer then asks what happened and Obelix explains that he inadvertently tossed a rock at the old man and that made him forget everything. However, the man decides to show this in practice and drops a rock on Apotheca. Asterix is furious at his pal and asks for his help to lift the rock, but as they try to talk to the healer, she starts making animal sounds, indicating that Apotheca has also lost her memory. Another day passes and the Roman troops starts building a massive Colosseum where the epic battle will take place. And moreover, they transform the military base into a theme park to attract tourists and raise revenue for the Roman Empire. At the same time in the community, Crucial Statistics gathers the council to decide what to do. Now that Obtain a Fix and Apotheca are incapacitated, there is no likelihood of creating the magic potion and defeat is almost certain. As if that wasn't awful enough, Vital Statistics' training hasn't provided outstanding outcomes and he's not strong enough to face ceramics. At this point, Impedimenta has an idea and advises modifying the village leader, anything that is allowed according to the tiny print of Gaelish law. Everyone supports the idea and now it has to be decided who will replace important statistics. Several townspersons such as the blacksmith Fully Automatics and the fishmonger Unhygienics offer their services but no one reaches a consensus and confusion ensues. Minutes later, the Roman messenger emerges on the scene summoning the village chief to the Great Clash. Faced with his options, Vital Statistics feels that the only hope lies with the Gaul who has held the power of the miraculous potion from the beginning, Obelix. However, he refuses to take part as he feels bad about the whole thing and for having removed the memories of Get a Fix and Apotheca. Asterix tells him that he has no option and is now the new head of the village, but Obelix decides to transfer this post to his friend. Asterix retaliates by returning the title of chief to him and the two begin to argue, handing away the leadership of the community to each other non-stop. Finally, Impediment tells them both to stop squabbling and tells Obelix because he is the sole chance for the Gaelish people. After considerable urging, Obelix accepts to be the new chief as long as the village starts selling wild boar in exchange for fish for lunch. Impediment agrees, so Obelix agrees to travel to the Colosseum to start the main fight. At the venue, everyone is anxiously awaiting Julius Caesar, who arrives in his royal carriage beside his mother. The emperor assures that this event will be a birthday present for her, but the grouchy elderly woman is not impressed and urges them to hurry to the royal box. Finally, Obelix and his buddies arrive at the Colosseum and Vital Statistics hurries to bring food to keep the new leader well-fed. Asterix promises to help and Vital Statistics shows that if everything goes well in the bout, he will hand over the leadership of the settlement to Obelix forever. However, Asterix doesn't think this is a good concept as Obelix is too clumsy and insecure to take on such a duty. Unbeknownst to him, Obelix has heard everything from the opposite side of the room and accuses his friend of not faith on his potential. He also says he's bored of always coming second, while Asterix always makes the most vital decisions. In response, Asterix says that throughout childhood, he has always had to do the hard work and remedy the troubles that Obelix brought for both of them. This only makes Obelix even furious, and in a hasty move, he decrees Asterix's exile from the village. Hurt by this decision, he departs and leaves him alone in his room moments before the combat begins. Finally, the big moment approaches and all the Roman and GIC people congregate on the stage of the Colosseum. Outside, Asterix is on his way out when he spots two boys performing just like he and Obelix did in the past. He is saddened to realize that their friendship is over, yet his attention is rapidly drawn to Get a Fix and Apotheca. The two lunatics are playing in the park unsupervised and decide to climb aboard one of the rides, which is fashioned like a ship's mast. The two of them are about to fall out of the park and Asterix runs to save them, but as luck would have it, the three of them fall on top of a giant plush toy. Asterix is thrown aside, but the druid and the healer continue to search the park and enter a labyrinth. As Asterix chases after them, the judge hops into the ring and announces the contestants. On one side, Tomius appears, the Gaul, who betrayed his people and is confident that he will win. On the other side is Obelix, who isn't in the mood due of the argument he had with Asterix, but he resolves to fight anyhow. With the two of them gathered in the ring, the referee states that all blows are authorized and the first to give up will be the loser. Finally, he informs them both to say their remarks into the microphone with Tomius giving a brief salute to the emperor, but when it's Obelix's turn, just as it was during the school's presentation in the past, he doesn't react. Far away, Asterix hears hears Obelix's voice through the microphone and understands that his old pal must be very nervous of fighting. He rushes approaching the ring, but before he can get there, Obelix reaches the limit of his anxiousness and falls in front of everyone. Before the fight has even started, the referee starts counting down. With a few seconds to go, Asterix appears on the scene and shouts for Obelix, but it's no use and the referee concludes the count, declaring Ptomius the excellent winner. With this surprising outcome, Emperor Julius Caesar celebrates the triumph and sends his legion of warriors to surround the Gauls. In the center of the muddle, Obtain a Fix appears in the middle of the ring and starts toying with Ptomius' shield, which makes the fighter very enraged. He then takes the shield back and attacks the old man on the head who is thrown out of the ring. Asterix rushes over to aid him and realizes that thanks to the blow, Get a Fix has finally recovered his memory. However, it was too late and the Romans won their right to control the village. However, Asterix still has a card up his sleeve and rushes to the top of the Colosseum to challenge the emperor. Julius Caesar mocks the little Gaul, suggesting that with the outcome of the debate, everyone now belongs to the Roman Empire. However, Asterix remembers that Obelix expelled him from the village moments before the fight, thus he is not part of the agreement and can invoke a fresh major conflict. Just then, the audience begins to react as everyone is unsatisfied with the end of the battle and wants a serious fight. To gratify the people, Julius Caesar announces that there will be a fight and then he instructs his men to fire their secret weapon, 2 retractable catapults. The soldiers then load them with flaming boulders and flames at the Gauls' village, which begins to be destroyed. Everyone is disturbed by this attitude, especially Metadata, who refuses to continue supporting the emperor's attitudes and breaking Gaulish laws. However, Julius Caesar no longer cares and sends his soldiers to capture Asterix. The young Gaul finds himself encircled by them, but manages to escape by diving into the roller coaster and plummeting on top of one of the carts. Meanwhile, Get a Fix tries to flee to prepare more magic potion when he is stopped by Roman soldiers. Shortly afterwards, Metadata emerges claiming that she has been ordered by Caesar to take the druid prisoner and she leads him to the cell along with one of the soldiers. However, in a surprising attack, the young woman knocks the male out with a vase and says that she will help the magician save the Gauls. Back at Asterix's, he manages to flee for a moment, but Fast and Furious and Puss also jump on the roller coaster and set off after him. Asterix manages to dodge, jumping over the cart they were on, but the general jumps onto the tracks and challenges the Gaul to a sword duel. Meanwhile, the Gauls are still surrounded by soldiers, but vital statistics inspires his people to resist. They then defend themselves as best they can, but Obelix refuses to fight for fear of getting in the way again. Dogmatix attempts to motivate him, but when he sees that the inhabitants of the village are being forced over a cliff by the Romans, the dog sets off to help them. When this looks to be the end of the Gauls, Obelix uses all his strength to confront the Roman soldiers, knocking them down with hard strikes and slaps. Like him, Asterix also decides to fight and takes on General Fast and Furious with the two exchanging quick sword strikes. At one point, Asterix's blade gets caught in the rail just as a cart is coming towards him. Fortunately, he manages to get the sword out at the last second and hops to the rail support where his opponent is waiting for him for a second round. The conflict continues in the Colosseum while Obtain a Fix with the help of Metadata manages to contact the village and starts the recipe for his magic potion. As soon as it is ready, the cauldron emits a massive beam of light. This is noticed by everyone far away. Asterix understands that the potion is ready, but because of this diversion, Fast and Furious knocks him off the roller coaster. Even so, the small Gaul manages to catch hold of a rope and sets off to fetch his friends and return with them to the village. On the way, he meets Obelix, who has the notion of acquiring everyone into the catapult prepared with wheels. Asterix supports the notion, and everyone helps him push the large machine, which sets off at high speed across the countryside. Along the journey, the catapult ends up flipping over and tumbling to the ground. The impact causes Apotheca to retrieve her memory, but the group hurries to reach the village before the fire destroys everything. However, when they arrive at the premises, they stumble across General Fast and Furious and POTUS, who have taken a shortcut across the river. Together with the Roman soldiers, they have captured Acquire a Fix and Metadata as well as the cauldron with the mystical potion. To make sure it's the actual deal, the general tells Puss to try it, and even despite he doesn't want to, he obeys the order. It seems that the potion has worked and the captain chooses to put his increased strength to the test by challenging the Gauls to a fight. Obelix agrees to fight him, but with a single punch from POTUS, he is thrown away. Even still, the Gaul is undeterred and lashes back, triggering a conflict between Rome and Gaul. However, the general doesn't want to wait for the conflict to end and orders all the soldiers to take the potion. Soon, several of them begin to gain powers and grow towards Obelix, who does his hardest to resist, but is stopped and smacked with a strong punch from POTUS. Finally, the last to take the potion is the general, who orders the entire army to attack the Gauls and end the war once and for all. Despite being outnumbered, vital statistics instructs his people to advance, and they all run towards the enemy army. However, to everyone's surprise, the entire Roman army begins to float in the air, and moreover, their skins also shine varied colors, and Acquire Fix reveals that he combined the magic potion with the floating and color-changing formulations he realized when he had lost his memory. Thanks to this, the entire Roman army is unable to fight and they fly above the Colosseum, their lights flashing all over the place. Julius Caesar is not happy about this turn of events, but for the first time, he sees his mother astonished to witness the light show in the sky. Even though he is vanquished, the emperor is thrilled with this time and summons the commander of the Gauls to decide the terms of the defeat. Julius Caesar promises that he will leave the village free and the Gauls can live in harmony till he changed his mind. With this victory, the Gauls revel till suddenly Ptomius arrives, having hidden during the battle. He attempts to ask for vital statistics as forgiveness and for him to take him back, but in reaction, the village leader punches the man and throws him far away. Days later, the Gauls and Romans celebrate the truce in their restored village. In the middle of the celebration, Getafix accepts metadata as his apprentice and vital statistics invites Obelix to give a speech so that he might finally lose his dread of public speaking. Then, with Asterix's support, he finally manages to make a speech and dedicates the triumph to all the villagers. Thanks to the duo of Asterix and Obelix, the village of Gaul can live in peace and calm again, at least till their next excursion. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a comment about your favorite movie, and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.